Welcome, Gunrunner.
A couple of months ago I did a greatest of all time video for the much maligned Atari 5200 console, and almost the moment I posted it I had lots of people asking where the ColecoVision version of that video was, and I have to admit I didn't realise there was still such a fierce rivalry between the two consoles some 40 years after they faded from the market. It's actually quite funny, because when I did that video it was literally a coin flip between the two. I ended up doing 5200, so I thought, what the hell, let's keep my community happy and do ColecoVision next. As with previous greatest of all time videos, I put the big question to the members of several large retro gaming groups on Facebook, including the hugely popular and very lively Retro Gaming Hysteria, link in the description for those who want to join, as well as my own loyal subscribers, asking them to name their top 5 and the reasons why. Following the same rules as before, I awarded 5 points to first choice, 4 points to second, and so on and so forth. I then counted up those votes to decide the final placings. In the case of games having the same number of points, I then went to the number of votes awarded, followed by the number of first place votes to decide the final rankings. Thankfully I didn't have to use these tiebreakers very much in this video at all, although there were a few occasions I had to use them in the top 40, but not at all in the top 20. Now, in terms of any interesting observations I made during the voting process, there are a lot of things that grabbed my attention, and most interestingly of all perhaps, themes that also shone through in the voting process for the greatest Atari 5200 games, which was the ColecoVision's biggest rival of course. Like that poll, this one is also dominated by coin-op conversions, and again, that probably shouldn't be a surprise given the console was promoted as an arcade machine in your home, and had very few original games. Secondly, the huge lack of Activision games in both the top 20 and to a slightly lesser extent the wider top 42, which as always will be made available to my lovely Patreons and YouTube members in the next few weeks. A great reason to sign up if there ever was one. I'm not really sure why the Activision games aren't so highly regarded on the 5200 and ColecoVision when they're worshipped on the 2600, but that's all there is to say really. So without further ado, I proudly present the 20 greatest ColecoVision games of all time.
You are the player, and the arcade is the arena. You focus your mind and propel yourself into a universe where you're the master of your destiny for as long as you can keep the trip going. This is the arcade experience. We're ColecoVision. We bring the arcade experience home with games like Donkey Kong with multiple screens, arcade controls, and arcade graphics that let you have the arcade experience at home because your vision is our vision. ColecoVision.
There were very few RPGs from the ColecoVision. The genre didn't really come to the fore until the following console generation. But it does have an excellent version of the seminal Epic's computer game Gateway to Apsai, which just about makes the top 20. The original Spy Hunter arcade game was a huge hit for Bally Midway, and a number of impressive home versions soon followed, including this excellent ColecoVision port that sadly came quite late in the system's commercial life, so not many people saw it. From one amazing Bally Midway arcade game to another, with the ColecoVision version of Gorth, a title that combines all the best parts of several famous space shoot-em-ups like Space Invaders, Galaxian and Phoenix, and fuses them together perfectly. Widely regarded as the best game for Coleco's trackball-like roller controller, indeed it was actually bundled with the add-on, Slither is Coleco's answer to Atari's Centipede, as the name very much suggests, but it does add some unique elements of its own. I've always felt that Sega's Carnival arcade game is one that's hugely underrated by most retro gamers, so I was extremely pleased to see the awesome ColecoVision version make this list. A fun and frantic shoot 'em up that takes genuine skill to master. The sequel to the hugely popular Mr. Do, this one is a huge departure from the first game as it swaps the clown's dirt digging antics for a more traditional fixed screen platformer environment. And what a game it is, the best platformer on the system in my opinion in fact. A very accurate port of the XD arcade game that was the Californian company's answer to Pac-Man, Mousetrap added one awesome new feature that was subsequently copied by lots of other games too, the need to open and close colour-coded doors. Although this game also originated in the arcades via the obscure Ventureline Inc., it's probably better known for its excellent ColecoVision port that brought the game to the masses. The unique and original gameplay found in looping will have you hooked in no time. The arcade ports just keep on coming with this conversion of the Sega Gremlin arcade game, which is the very first coin-op to use colour vector graphics and also famous for its amazing speech synthesis. The ColecoVision port isn't quite as impressive, but still incredibly playable. Often described as a blatant rip-off of Konami's Scramble, Universal's Cosmic Avenger is another obscure arcade game that is more famous for its ColecoVision port. The bright colourful graphics are the real standout feature in this one. The top 10 begins with the absolutely stonking port of the sequel to Stern Electronics' Berserk. It doesn't just translate all the amazing gameplay across perfectly though, it also adds a number of great graphical enhancements as well as some new gameplay options. We've had the ColecoVision version of the second Mr. Do game, and now we have the excellent port of the first one, that has been long compared with Namco's Dig Dug. Which game is better? I'm not sure I can decide. I absolutely love them both. A conversion of the hugely popular Sega arcade game that also featured in the hit movie Wreck-It Ralph, Turbo was specifically designed to play with the Expansion Module 2 add-on that provided both an authentic steering wheel and foot pedals. Yet another arcade game translation that is more famous for its ColecoVision conversion. It's becoming a bit of a theme here. Exeter's Pepper 2 was their answer to Konami's Amidar, but the much better game in my opinion, with a host of extra gameplay features. Finally, an original game created specifically for the ColecoVision. Smurf was undoubtedly one of the showcase games for the system back in the day, as this multi-screen platformer had some of the best graphics and sound that people had ever seen on a home system. Although he was Nintendo's character, Donkey Kong became a bit of a mascot for the ColecoVision, with superb conversions of the first two games in the now legendary franchise, both of which made the prestigious top 5, starting with Donkey Kong Jr. of course. We've already had Mousetrap, but there is a much more popular Pac-Man clone for the ColecoVision in the form of the superb conversion of Universal's Ladybug, which many would argue actually improves on the original coin-op in many ways with a host of extra features. People talk about how Coleco's port of Donkey Kong showed the console's superiority over the rival Atari 2600, but I'd argue that Venture shows it even more, a brilliant conversion of Exeter's hugely influential and innovative adventure-themed arcade game. And we could probably say the same about the runner-up here too, as Coleco's port of Zaxxon keeps the groundbreaking isometric looks of the Sega arcade game, albeit with a sacrifice to the scrolling, and remains every bit as playable as the original work. I bet you all predicted this one would be top. Not only was it an incredible port of the Nintendo arcade game, but Donkey Kong was also the original packing game for the console, so the first game most people played on their ColecoVision back in the day too.
Playing on ColecoVision in 1984. War Games, the blockbuster movie, becomes more than just a game on ColecoVision. Tarzan, the original swinger, is still the king of the jungle on ColecoVision. Frontline, the ultimate invasion on a constantly changing battlefield on ColecoVision. Congo Bongo, the hilarious jungle adventure on ColecoVision. Star Trek, fight aliens at the speed of light on ColecoVision. The best game in town keeps getting better.
And that rounds up my look at the 20 greatest ColecoVision games of all time. But which games were you most surprised not to see make the final list? Or are there any games that you don't think were worthy of inclusion on this countdown? I always love to hear the thoughts and views of my audience, so please get typing in that comments section. Before I go though, I must thank all of my loyal patrons and YouTube backers for continuing to support my channel and make videos like this possible. However, I must give special thanks to the following people in particular for their much appreciated pledges: Dee Vaughan, Albert Davis, Richard Baker, Martin Wiggins, Peter Grantham, Bernard Santu, Mins, Classic Gamer 74, Josh Hartman, Daniel Skronsky, Ben P. Stein, Tabby Kitson, Grady Haynes, Paul Daniel, Seth A. Robinson, Kalima Torn, Carl Olsen, Mark Strickland, and Electron Star Collapse. If you also want to help support this channel, then you can now join as a member for as little as £2 a month, where you'll get access to exclusive videos and updates and much more. Just click the button on my community page to get started. My Patreon is also still available if you prefer to support me in other ways too. I've been the Laird, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again for another video very soon.